You have firemen, you have cops, you have teachers, plumbers, electricians. I'm a volunteer fireman myself, and from all different walks of lives that come here and they work together as one team.
Everything's about teamwork. I mean, that's certainly going to be the case in Florida. That's certainly the case here in Jacksonville Beach. Well, hi, folks. I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf right now. I'm also a guy who's going to be using a shovel in just a second. Here with two of my new friends. I've got Steven, I've got Elroy, and we are filling up sandbags. Guys, how long have you guys been doing this?
A couple hours.
Couple hours.
Oh, it's so hot.
Couple of hours. Hot times, but where are you guys going to place these sandbags?
Underneath all the doors.
The doors. And
Yeah.
all the room doors.
Oh, sure.
Just on the bottom floor.
Everything to stop the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Guys, I got to tell you, these things are awfully heavy. They are heavy indeed, but just think like this, a little measure like this, a bag full of this sand can help stop the water, and that is something that's going to be sorely needed. One guy who I bet could fill some sandbags and could tell us that they are definitely needed is Dr. Greg Postel. Dr. Postel, I know one of the big worries we've had has been with the flooding. We've been talking about the potential for storm surge, wind. The wind, the flooding, and the rainfall, really the lions, tigers, and bears of what the system could bring. Very, very scary to think about.
No, Reynolds, it really is. And it's not just South Florida or southwestern or southeastern part of the state. It's also central and North Florida and maybe even Georgia as well. We have to consider the fact that Irma is going to keep going and bring its wind and its rain and its storm surge potential with it as it moves northward. Here's the latest advisory. Hot off the presses from the Hurricane Center, right? 11 o'clock Eastern time. Kept the intensity at around 150 miles per hour. Reconnaissance is in there, finding roughly winds around that speed, sometimes a little bit higher, but those are contaminated by the rainfall and other issues. So smart move to keep it right around 150 as a Category 4, and it is expected to be a Category 4 all the way through into landfall or closest approach to Florida, Cat 4. Expect that on Sunday morning. But then, as I mentioned, it continues to move on north, gradually weakening, probably if the center goes over the center part of the state. But you know what? We're going to have hurricane force wind gusts throughout the entire state of Florida, or almost anyway, perhaps excluding the western parts of the panhandle. But then we're also going to be dealing with Florida, North Florida, and Georgia wind gusts of 50 to 75 miles per hour, probably as far north as Atlanta later on in the week. So we're going to have to deal with this for days to come with lots of power outages and trees down, I think, in interior parts of South Carolina and Georgia at least. Right now in the visible satellite pictures where Reynolds is, he's in Jacksonville Beach anyway, and there's a northeast wind right now that is adding to some of the water rises that we're seeing across parts of Georgia and South Carolina. This is not directly related to Irma. There's a big old high pressure system to the north that is bringing that wind in from the northeast. And these are some of the water rises that we're going to continue to see today. And they may go up as that high pressure continues to funnel in this east wind. And the gradient between it and Irma getting closer only will increase the wind over the coming days and those water rises as well. So minor coastal flooding may be happening soon, and we'll see certainly some significant storm surge later on Sunday as Irma makes a very close approach. So let's talk about that close approach to North Florida as we go through the day on Sunday. This is a very early Sunday morning with Irma, the center, being somewhere, unfortunately, near the Keys with winds over 100 miles per hour and significant storm surge flooding here on the southeastern part of the peninsula. During the day on Sunday, Irma moves fairly rapidly toward the north. That's one good thing about this, that is not going to stay in one place forever. It's got some significant component of motion to it. It's going to keep going. But we are going to have that east wind over potentially hurricane force into central and North Florida and Georgia along the coast. You will likely have wind gusts over 75 miles per hour later on Sunday and early Monday, piling up that water with water rises significant there as well. And then at the same time, right, with the center right here, you're also going to have that onshore component off the Gulf into the southwestern part of the state with significant storm surge inundation likely there as well during the late afternoon on Sunday, with potential water rises above normally dry ground of 5 to 10 feet in some places. Very, very significant flooding likely there as well. Going forward from here, though, look what happens. The center of Irma here, probably not a hurricane anymore, maybe a tropical storm, but still with wind gusts 50 to 70 miles per hour likely across parts of Georgia and South Carolina, and a continuation of wind gusts over 75 miles per hour likely along the immediate coast there of South Carolina and Georgia later on Monday, contributing to coastal flooding and beach erosion, obviously, and storm surge inundation. This is very significant, continuing later on the day on Monday, and it continues on, and gradually the wind begins to wind down over the interior sections. But watch out, still lots of tree damage possible over Georgia, even on Tuesday morning, parts of western North Carolina and Tennessee, with also a long onshore flow still in North Carolina and parts of South Carolina. So this is going to continue onward throughout the next couple of days. Our storm surge forecast here put out by the Hurricane Center will expand. It will begin to cover parts of northern Florida and probably areas north of that, Reynolds, where you are. Even though right now there's not really a forecast officially out for a storm surge, Reynolds, in Jax Beach, there will be. It's just a matter of time. Reynolds, back to you.
Yeah, Dr. Postel, listening to you, a couple of things I did not hear you say. I didn't hear you say anything about shear. I didn't hear you say anything about dry air intrusion. I didn't hear you say anything really about weakening. Please tell me I'm wrong. Is there anything that could happen? Do you see any situation where over the next 12 hours we could see this thing begin just to weaken a little bit more and possibly may not be as bad? Anything positive?
Nothing that is obvious, Reynolds. What's going on now and what's kind of held it back a little bit from intensification, some internal changes that are happening called eye wall replacement cycles. That is completing one right now, Irma is, and that has prevented it from getting stronger than where it is right now. And we just don't know how that is going to continue forward as going through the next 36 hours. Potentially its interaction with Cuba. That may weaken it a little bit. But there's another competing factor here that it's going to be moving over the warmest waters practically of the Western Hemisphere, and it will likely be able to use that as fuel. So to balance any weakening, we have that which would favor strengthening. So we just don't know yet. Figure in to a Category 4 landfall, Reynolds, in South Florida or the Florida Keys late Saturday and early Sunday. That's the way to look at it right now. Very devastating wind impacts for sure. Not just a water problem, but potentially a catastrophic wind problem as well.
A lot of wind, a lot of rain, a lot of storm surge, a lot of flooding, a lot of sandbags. No question about it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching continued coverage on Hurricane Irma. We've been watching it for a long time. It seems like forever. Well, guess what? It's going to be coming closer to us. You're going to want to keep it here at the Weather Channel. Again, you're watching continued coverage of Hurricane Irma.